The rain falls hard on my black umbrella. Each drop sounds like tiny hammers on the metal. I watch as they lower my sweet boy Tommy into the cold ground. He was only 9 years old. My hands shake so badly, I almost drop the single white rose I brought for him. The cemetery worker gives me a sad look, waiting for me to say it's okay to finish. But I'll never be okay again. My throat feels tight like I can't breathe right. My legs feel wobbly, like they might give out under me. I look around expecting to see faces I know, but there's almost nobody here. Just me and Mrs. Chun, the nice lady who lives next door. 18 months ago, Tommy got very sick with something rare that made his blood weak. The doctor used big words I had to write down to remember. When Tommy heard the news, he was braver than me. He asked if the medicine would hurt. The doctor said yes, sometimes it would. But Tommy just nodded like he understood. For 1.5 years, he went to the hospital every week. Sometimes he felt so sick he couldn't eat his favorite cookies. But he never complained, not once. He'd pat my hand and say, "Don't worry, Mommy. I'm tough like a superhero." Now I stand here, by myself, and it hurts worse than anything. Where are Mom and Dad? Where's my sister Rachel, who promised she'd always help us? Where's Jenny, my best friend since we were kids, who said she'd be there no matter what? I take out my phone because I can't help myself. Rachel's Instagram page loads up and I see pictures of her engagement party happening right now. She's wearing a sparkly dress, holding a glass of bubbly drink, and Mom and Dad are smiling big beside her. The pictures were posted 20 minutes ago, right when the preacher was talking about Tommy. "Are you holding up okay, dear?" Mrs. Chun touches my arm gently. She's the only person who came today. For the whole time Tommy was sick, she brought us dinner when I was too tired to cook. She sat with Tommy when I needed to take a shower. She never acted like helping us was hard work. They didn't come. I whisper so quietly she can barely hear me. None of them came. I keep thinking about Tommy's real laugh from before he got sick. It would bubble up from deep inside him and make everyone around him smile too. When he was 7, he said he wanted to become a doctor to help sick kids like him. During his treatments, he wore his Batman pajamas because he said superheroes are brave even when they're scared. "That little boy loved you more than the whole world," Mrs. Chun says quietly. I remember how my ex-husband Steve set up money for Tommy's college before he moved far away for work. He said if something bad ever happened, the money would come to me. Steve said he knew I would do right by Tommy's memory. He couldn't have known how soon those words would matter. Part of me wants to call Mom and Dad and yell until my voice breaks. How could they pick Rachel's party over their grandson's funeral? But another part of me feels too empty to feel anything at all. For 18 months, I fought to keep Tommy alive. I slept in hard hospital chairs and learned big medical words and argued with doctors when they didn't listen. Now, there's nothing left to fight for anymore. My phone buzzes with a text from Mom. "We need to meet tomorrow. Bring the trust papers." I stare at the message, reading it twice to make sure I understand right. They didn't come to Tommy's funeral, but now they want to talk about his college money? Something cold and angry starts growing in my chest for the first time today. Something feels wrong about this. I type back. "I'm burying my son today. I can't think about paperwork right now." Her answer comes back fast. "Don't be so dramatic, Emma. This is important for everyone in the family." Everyone in the family. The same family that couldn't spare 2 hours to say goodbye to Tommy. I start to understand what's really happening here. This isn't just about money. It's about the last piece of Tommy I have left. His future that will never happen. I realize something scary. I'm all alone in this fight. Mom, Dad, Rachel, even Jenny, they're all working together, planning something. While I'm here crying and hurt, they're making plans. How long have they been thinking about this? What exactly do they want? Mrs. Chun sees I'm upset. "What's wrong, dear?" I show her Mom's text message. Her face gets hard as she reads it. "Oh my," she says softly. "They can't really think that's okay." I turn off my phone completely. Whatever they want can wait. This time belongs to Tommy. I won't let them take this away from me too. Mrs. Chun puts her hand on my shoulder. "You're not alone, Emma. I'm right here with you." The cemetery worker walks over carefully. I'm sorry, but we need to finish now. I look down at Tommy's small casket hanging over the deep hole. How am I supposed to walk away now? Leave him here all by himself? My body feels frozen, like I can't take even one step away from the spot. Mrs. Chen steps in front of me. Give her another minute, please. She's saying goodbye to her little boy. The worker nods and steps back, giving us space. I reach into my coat pocket and pull out Tommy's favorite toy robot, the one he kept with him through every hospital stay. I kneel down beside the grave and place it carefully on top of his casket. I'll keep your money safe, I promise, I whisper to him. As I stand up, something changes inside me. Through all the sadness, a tiny spark of fire starts growing. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, but I know one thing for sure. They won't take my son's money without a real fight. The morning after the funeral is gray and cloudy, just like how I feel inside as I drive to Mom and Dad's big house on Maple Street. I grip the steering wheel so tight my hands turn white. My stomach feels sick thinking about seeing them after yesterday. After they chose Rachel's engagement party over their own grandson's funeral. I park behind a car I know, Jenny's red Honda. Of course she's here too, on their side instead of mine. The front door opens before I even reach it. Dad stands there trying to look sad and worried, but his eyes look cold. Emma, come inside. We've been waiting for you. The living room feels like a business meeting. Rachel sits on the white couch with her legs crossed, her hair pulled back perfectly. Jenny sits next to her, looking at her fingernails instead of at me. Mom stands by the fireplace next to a family picture where we're all smiling fake smiles for the camera. Nobody mentions Tommy. Nobody says they're sorry. Dad doesn't wait long. He walks to the coffee table where papers are spread out in neat piles. We need to change the trust so Rachel can be in charge of it, he says, sliding a paper toward me. Sign here and here. I don't reach for the pen. What are you talking about? Rachel leans forward. Emma, you're too upset to handle this much money right now. We're trying to help you. Mom walks closer, using her sweet voice that isn't really sweet. You've always been bad with money, Emma. Remember when you wanted to start that craft business after high school? Thank goodness Dad stopped you from wasting your money on that. I look at Jenny, hoping she'll stick up for me like friends should. She looks at me for just a second, then looks away. Her silence tells me everything I need to know about whose side she's on. We already talked to Steve's lawyer, Dad says, tapping the papers. He thinks this is a good idea since you're so emotional right now. The words hit me like someone punched me in the stomach. I pick up one of the papers and see scary legal words about mental health evaluations. Another page catches my eye, research about trust laws dated over a year ago when Tommy first got sick. You've been planning this since Tommy got sick, I whisper, feeling like the room is spinning. While I was sitting by his hospital bed, you were researching how to take his money if he died. Rachel sighs like I'm being annoying. You're making this bigger than it is, Emma. That's exactly why we're worried about you. Dad pulls out another paper and slides it across the table. If you won't sign this, we'll have to ask a judge to make you sign it. The court will understand that being so sad has made it hard for you to think clearly. I finally see the whole picture of how they betrayed me. For 8 months, they said Tommy wasn't that sick, that I was worrying too much. Now I understand they were setting themselves up the whole time, waiting for the worst thing to happen. My whole world feels different now. I remember things differently. Mom, 10 months ago, it's probably just low iron, Emma. You always worry about everything. Dad, when Tommy needed special treatment, those doctors just want your money. He needs vitamins, not expensive medicine. Rachel, when I begged her to visit Tommy in the hospital. Hospitals are sad places. Besides, he's going to get better anyway, right? I see a piece of paper sticking out from under the trust documents. I pull it out. It's plans for Rachel's new house. A fancy kitchen that costs $200,000. A movie room. A swimming pool with a waterfall feature. You never even visited him in the hospital, I say, my voice getting stronger with anger. Not once in 8 months. Rachel tosses her head like she's annoyed. We all handle sad things differently, Emma. Some of us are just better at it than others. Her mean words shock me. For the first time, I see my family clearly. Not as people who love and support me, but as people who see Tommy and me as useful only when it helps them. Why right now? I ask. Why can't this wait? Rachel looks at Mom and Dad. They have a silent conversation with their eyes that leaves me out like always. Fine, you should know the truth, Rachel says finally. My fiancé Mark's construction business needs money fast. We might have to cancel the wedding unless we get more money soon. Mom fidgets with her pearl necklace. And there's the beach house in Florida. The housing market went down and we owe more money than we have. We're not bad people, Emma, Dad says, using his smooth business voice. We're family facing hard times together. Jenny finally speaks up, her voice small and guilty. My divorce will be final next month. Rachel promised me a job at Mark's company. I need this, Emma. I have my twin boys to think about. I see them clearly now. Not evil monsters, but scared people willing to hurt me to keep their comfortable lives, their nice things, their social status. If you don't sign, we'll have to do harder things to make you, Dad warns, and his nice mask slips away. Mom reaches for my hand. After everything we've done for you and Tommy all these years, don't make this harder than it needs to be. I almost laugh out loud. What exactly have they done? Sent birthday cards with $20? Called once a month to ask how things were going without really caring about the answer? Don't walk away from this table. Dad's voice gets sharp and mean like when I was little and in trouble. Rachel checks her phone. We need this figured out in 2 months before Mark's next business deadline. The desperate look in their eyes tells me everything I need to know. They need Tommy's money, my money now, to fix their problems. I stand up, gather the papers, and put them back in the folder. I need time to think, I say, walking toward the door. Emma. Dad's voice has the sharp edge I remember from when I was a kid, and he was mad. Don't you dare walk away from this table. I close the front door behind me quietly but firmly. In my car, I press my head against the steering wheel, feeling overwhelmed by what just happened. My phone buzzes with a text from Mrs. Chun. How did it go, dear? I'm here if you need me. Before I can answer, another call comes through. It's Steve's parents calling from their retirement home. Emma, sweetheart, Martha's voice is warm and caring. We just heard about the funeral. We're so sorry we couldn't be there. We were visiting family in another state and just got the news. We loved that little boy so much, George adds, and I can hear he's crying too. Their sadness sounds real. Their worry feels genuine. Unlike the fake performance I just saw for my family. After I hang up, I remember something Steve told me when he set up Tommy's college fund. If you ever have questions or problems, call William Martinez. He's the best trust lawyer in the whole state. For the first time today, I feel a tiny bit of hope growing in my chest. I'm not alone in this fight after all. Mrs. Chun, who saw how I took care of Tommy every single day. Steve's parents, who loved him without asking for anything back. William Martinez, who knows exactly what Steve wanted Tommy's money to be used for. I start the car, my decision made. I won't fight this battle by myself. I find William Martinez's phone number in my contacts and dial. Martinez Law Office, a secretary answers. I need to talk to him right away, I say, surprised by how strong my voice sounds. It's about the Tommy Walker Trust Fund. That same day, I sit in William Martinez's office. It's filled with big law books and smells like leather and coffee. I hold my folder of papers so tight my hands hurt. After staying up all night reading about trust laws online, I still don't understand what rights I have or how my family could try to steal Tommy's money from me. William stands up from his big wooden desk when his assistant brings me in. He's older than I expected, with gray hair and glasses. His handshake is firm and his eyes are kind but smart. Mrs. Walker, please sit down. I'm very sorry about your son. Thank you. My voice breaks a little. I've heard people say that to me many times this week, but he sounds like he really means it. I slide my folder across his desk. These are all the papers I have about Tommy's trust fund. My ex-husband Steve set it up before his company moved him far away. William opens the folder and reads through everything carefully. He nods sometimes and stops to read certain parts more carefully. The quiet stretches on until I can't stand it anymore. My family wants me to sign over control of the trust. They say I'm too emotionally unstable to manage it because I'm grieving. The words taste bitter in my mouth. They didn't even come to Tommy's funeral. William looks up sharply. They didn't attend the funeral?
No.
My sister Rachel had her engagement party the same day. My parents and my former best friend Jenny chose to go to that instead. He takes off his glasses and rubs his nose. I remember when Steve set up this trust. He was very specific about what he wanted to happen. William opens his desk drawer and pulls out a file with Steve's name on it.
My heart jumps.
I wasn't expecting him to have separate records. Steve was very thorough, William explains, taking out a notarized paper. This is his written statement about what he wanted for the trust. He hands me the paper and I read Steve's familiar handwriting. This trust is to secure Tommy's future and, if the worst happens, to provide for Emma, who gave up everything for his care. Tears make it hard to see the words. Even from across the country, Steve had prepared for this possibility. He saw what I couldn't bear to think about. There's more, William says, turning his computer screen so I can see it. These are phone records from our office over the past year. The spreadsheet shows lots of calls from phone numbers I recognize right away. My parents' home phone and Rachel's cell phone. They called you? About Tommy's trust? My voice gets sharper. Not me directly. They called asking about trust rules and beneficiary laws. My secretary noticed it because she recognized the names from Steve's file. They never actually talked to a lawyer here. Understanding cuts through my grief for the first time in days. They knew about the trust terms before Tommy died. That's why they've been planning this. It looks that way, William says, his face getting hard. Mrs. Walker, I want to be very clear about something. This trust has special rules that prevent family interference. Steve built in multiple layers of protection specifically to make sure the money would go to Tommy or to you as the backup beneficiary. They have no legal right to challenge this. The trust is completely secure. The heavy weight on my chest gets a little lighter. So they can't take it? Not legally, no. But they might try other tricks. Like claiming you're mentally unfit because of grief, for instance. I think of Mom's dismissive text message at the funeral, Rachel's cold, calculating look, Dad's threatening silence as they presented papers for me to sign. So I don't need to fight them for the trust, I say slowly, understanding better now. I just need to prove what they're really trying to do. William's eyes narrow thoughtfully. That would certainly make your position stronger. Do you have any proof of their attempts to gain control? I pull out my phone, showing him Mom's text messages from the funeral day. His eyebrows go up as he reads. This is extremely helpful, he says. Now I suggest we set up a meeting with your family on your terms in a public place. 2 days later, I sit at a corner table in Rosie's diner, a manila envelope placed carefully in front of me. The restaurant is busy with lunch customers, exactly like I hoped. William's advice echoes in my mind. Public places prevent scenes. Control the story from the beginning. Mrs. Chen waits in her car across the street, ready to help if I need her. William is waiting by his phone for me to call. For the first time since Tommy got diagnosed, I don't feel completely alone. My family arrives together, Rachel leading the way in expensive sunglasses, Mom and Dad following like servants. Jenny trails behind, still not looking at me. They sit down around the table without ordering food, clearly expecting this to be quick. Rachel immediately reaches for the manila envelope. So you signed the papers? I knew you'd be reasonable about this. I put my hand firmly on the envelope, stopping her. Before we talk about any papers, I want to know why none of you came to Tommy's funeral. Mom sighs dramatically. Emma, we've been through this already. Rachel's engagement was planned months in advance. We couldn't cancel everything at the last minute. It was your grandson's funeral, I say quietly but firmly. And we grieved in our own way, Dad replies, looking nervously at the other customers nearby. Everyone handles loss differently. I open the envelope and slide out several photos, screenshots from Rachel's Instagram, time-stamped during Tommy's funeral. Champagne glasses raised, diamond rings sparkling, everyone laughing and smiling. While I was burying my son, you were drinking champagne and laughing. My voice stays calm, but people at nearby tables start looking over. Rachel's face turns red. You're taking those pictures the wrong way. That's not fair. I pull out a second document from the envelope, The notarized trust terms with no changes without beneficiary consent, highlighted in bright yellow. Steve made his wishes very clear. This money is Tommy's gift to me. Dad reaches for the papers. Let me see that. I pull them back before he can grab them. I've talked to William Martinez. He is Steve's original written statement. The trust cannot be changed, transferred, or accessed by anyone but me. Rachel's carefully calm expression cracks. You don't deserve that money. You'll just waste it. Her voice is loud enough that several customers turn to stare. Keep your voice down, Mom hisses at her.
Why?
I ask, looking directly at Rachel. Are you worried people will hear how you tried to take advantage of your grieving sister? How you couldn't be bothered to attend your nephew's funeral, but won his college fund? Rachel stands up quickly. This is ridiculous. We're trying to help you. I don't need your kind of help, I say, gathering the papers back into the envelope. I'm not signing anything. Ever. Dad leans forward, his voice low and threatening. You're making a mistake, Emma. We can make things very difficult for you. You already have, I reply, standing up. My entire life. But not anymore. I walk out, feeling their angry stares on my back. Outside, Mrs. Chen waits in her car with the window down. When I get in the passenger seat, she gives me a proud smile. You stood up to them, dear. Good for you. My phone rings. William calling for an update. How did it go? He asks when I answer. Do we need to prepare for immediate legal action? I tell him about the confrontation, while Mrs. Chen drives us away from the diner. William listens carefully, then tells me we're in a strong position legally. They'll likely try something else, he warns. But you've set boundaries, which is critical. After we hang up, another call comes through, Steve's parents. They offer to fly in from their retirement home to testify about Steve's wishes if needed. We always knew Tommy's care was your first priority, Steve's mother says. We'll support you however we can. A text message follows from David, my former coworker who visited Tommy regularly during his hospital stays. Mrs. Chen told me, what's happening? Whatever you need, I'm here to help. For the first time in weeks, I feel the heavy weight on my chest get lighter. I'm not fighting alone anymore. In Mrs. Chen's driveway, I take a moment before getting out of the car. I touch Tommy's photo on my dashboard, his last school picture, taken before he got sick, his smile still bright with hope. First step done, buddy, I whisper to the picture. Mrs. Chen squeezes my hand. You did wonderful today, Emma. I nod, looking at the sky. But they won't give up easily. They'll try something bigger next. And we'll be ready, Mrs. Chen says firmly. You're not alone anymore, Emma. I take a deep breath, feeling something new growing inside me. Not just sadness, not just anger, but determination. They couldn't be bothered to say goodbye to my son. They won't get to decide what happens to his money. 3 days after the diner confrontation, I spread documents across William Martinez's big wooden desk, my hands steady as I arrange them into neat piles. Grief still lives under my skin, but something else has grown alongside it, a cold, clear way of thinking that surprises me with how strong it feels. They'll file for guardianship, William says, tapping his finger on a legal paper. His office smells of leather and old books, the kind of place where battles are planned rather than fought. They'll try to prove you're mentally unfit due to grief. It's their clearest path to the trust. I nod, studying the timeline I've created. 18 months of Tommy's illness mapped out in painful detail. Rachel never does her own dirty work. She'll use Mom and Dad as the people who file the petition, maybe even Jenny too. Smart thinking, William says, genuine respect in his voice. We need to document every interaction since Tommy's diagnosis, every hospital visit you made, every appointment they missed. I pull out my phone, opening my calendar app. I have records of every single appointment. I can prove I never missed one. My voice catches slightly. Not even the day after Steve moved away for work. William makes a note. And your parents? Rachel? 0 visits. Not when he was first diagnosed. Not during the 3 weeks he spent alone in isolation after the bone marrow treatment failed. The memory stings, but I push through it. Not even when the doctors told us there was nothing more they could do. Document everything, William says. We don't move yet. We prepare. We gather evidence. We anticipate their attack. When they come, and they will be ready. I run my finger along a hospital bill, remembering how I learned to read medical codes and argue with insurance companies. How I became Tommy's champion when no one else would. 8 months of treatments and not one visit from them. Not even one. William leans forward. Emma, I need you to understand something. This isn't just about proving you're mentally capable. It's about proving they never cared about Tommy, only his money. The words hurt, but the truth in them makes me stronger. Then that's exactly what we'll prove. Over the next hour, we sort through financial statements showing how carefully I handled Tommy's medical expenses. William brings in a notary to watch me sign sworn statements. The preparation feels like building armor. Each document is another piece of protection around Tommy's money. They'll claim your grief makes you unstable, William warns. We need to counter that story before they can tell it. Mrs. Chun has kept a diary, I say, surprising myself with this knowledge. She wrote down every time she helped with Tommy during his illness. She told me yesterday. William nods with approval.
Perfect.
A neutral third party's observations will carry significant weight in court. I pull out my notebook. I've also contacted Tommy's main cancer doctor and his school teacher. Both are willing to provide character statements. Excellent, William says. Now, what about Steve? His intention when creating the trust could be crucial. I called his parents last night. They're working with his lawyer to document his original wishes. The words come easily now. Each strategic move is clear in my mind. And I've put security cameras at my house. If they try to confront me again, it'll be recorded. William makes a note. I'm consulting with Dr. Sarah Kim tomorrow. She's a psychiatric expert who can evaluate you and counter any mental fitness challenges they might bring. I hesitate before sharing my next thought. I've been collecting screenshots. Every time they said Tommy's illness wasn't serious. Every text where they claimed I was overreacting. My voice gets harder. They created a pattern of downplaying his condition while secretly planning to take his trust fund. That's exactly the kind of evidence we need, William says quietly. Not just to defend you, but to expose their real motives. I stare out his office window at the fall leaves dancing across the parking lot. Tommy loved autumn. The colors, the smell of apple cider, the way leaves crunched under his sneakers. Last October, I wheeled him outside the hospital just so he could feel the cool air on his face. Are you all right? William asks. Just remembering, I say, coming back to the present. What else do we need? As William explains our next steps, my phone buzzes with a text from Mrs. Chun. Just heard from Betty at the hospital. Jenny was asking questions about Tommy's treatment schedule. Be careful. My stomach tightens. I show William the message. They're gathering ammunition, he says grimly. Jenny would have access to information about when you were at the hospital, your emotional state during treatment. She's signed something, hasn't she? The realization hits me like a physical punch. A sworn statement claiming I was unstable during Tommy's illness. William's silence confirms my suspicion. She was my friend since we were kids, I whisper, the betrayal cutting deeper than I expected. She held my hand through my divorce. Rachel is recruiting anyone with inside knowledge of your life, William says gently. It raises the threat level considerably. I remember now Jenny's increasingly rare visits as Tommy got sicker. Her uncomfortable look when I broke down after a particularly bad doctor's report. The way she stopped looking me in the eyes during those final weeks. She'll claim she witnessed unstable behavior, I say, my voice hollow. And she wouldn't be completely wrong. I did fall apart sometimes. Who wouldn't? For the first time since our strategy session began, doubt creeps in. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am falling apart. Look at my shaking hands. Don't, William says firmly. This is exactly what they want, to make you doubt yourself. My phone buzzes again. Mrs. Chun, coming by William's office. Found my diaries. You need to see these. 30 minutes later, Mrs. Chun walks in carrying a stack of notebooks. Her silver hair is pulled back neatly, her eyes fierce, with protective energy. Jenny can say whatever she wants, Mrs. Chun announces, placing the journals on William's desk. But I documented everything. Every day you spent at that hospital. Every night you stayed up with Tommy when he couldn't sleep. Every meal I brought because you wouldn't leave his side to eat. She takes my hands in hers. Don't let them make you doubt yourself, Emma. That's exactly what they want. The warmth of her hands steadies mine. I look from Mrs. Chun to William, then to the mountain of evidence we've built up. My son's money protected by truth, fact by documented fact. You're right, I say, straightening my shoulders. I need to prepare for character assassination, not just legal challenges. As I organize Mrs. Chen's journals into our evidence pile, I realize we're building more than a legal defense. We're creating a monument to the truth about who really stood by Tommy when it mattered and who didn't. Later that evening, after Mrs. Chen left, my hands are steady as I tape the last photo to the evidence board in William's office. It shows my parents at Rachel's engagement party, champagne glasses raised in celebration exactly 47 minutes after Tommy's casket was lowered into the ground. That's the final piece, William says, stepping back to look at our work. The conference room wall has become a complete timeline of betrayal, medical records showing every appointment I attended, financial statements proving responsible management of Tommy's medical expenses, witness statements from hospital staff, neighbors, and Tommy's teachers. A documented 18-month absence of my family during Tommy's illness. Will it be enough? I ask, straightening a document that details Rachel's unauthorized access to Tommy's medical files. William adjusts his glasses, his expression serious but confident. They'll file for emergency guardianship claiming you're mentally unfit, but we've anticipated every argument they could make. He taps the notarized statement from Steve's parents. This alone makes their position legally shaky. I trace my finger along the timeline we've created. 8 months of hospital visits, countless nights sleeping in uncomfortable chairs beside Tommy's bed. The treatments, the hopes, the setbacks, all documented with careful detail. I never thought I'd need to prove I was a good mother, I whisper. You shouldn't have to, William says, putting a supportive hand on my shoulder. But people who want what isn't theirs will create whatever story serves them. As if on cue, my phone buzzes with a text from Mrs. Chen. I read it out loud. 28 neighbors signed the character petition. A small victory, but each one makes our position stronger. I've spent the past week gathering an arsenal of truth against my family's inevitable attack. Security cameras now monitor my home, recording any uninvited visits. I've documented every text, every voicemail, every social media post where Rachel subtly questions my mental state. They're painting me as unstable, I say, staring at Rachel's recent Facebook post asking for prayers for family members struggling with mental health issues after loss. The comments section is full of sympathetic responses. None mention that she didn't attend her nephew's funeral. William nods grimly. Classic strategy. They can't win on legal grounds, so they're trying to win in the court of public opinion first. The phone on his desk rings. William answers, his expression darkening as he listens. I see. Thank you for letting us know. He hangs up and turns to me. That was my contact at Children's Hospital. Someone requested Tommy's complete medical records yesterday. My stomach drops.
Who?
Rachel used an old emergency contact form to gain access. The room seems to tilt slightly. They'll twist everything, I say, my voice rising. They'll find the one time I questioned a medicine dose or got emotional with a nurse and use it to make me look bad. They're getting desperate, William says. This privacy violation shows how far they're willing to go. I grip the edge of the table to steady myself. What else are they doing that we don't know about? William opens his laptop. Let's find out. He types quickly, then turns the screen toward me. They've been calling your former coworkers at the advertising agency. A LinkedIn message from my old boss appears on screen. Emma, your sister called asking about your emotional stability during your time here. What's going on?
Call me.
They're building a case against me on every front, I say, the anger finally breaking through my grief. They're trying to erase everything I did for Tommy. William closes the laptop. We need to add a defamation counterclaim to our strategy. This goes beyond the trust now. They're attacking your reputation. I think of Tommy's brave face during treatments, how he never complained even on his worst days. If my 9-year-old could face down death with courage, I can face down my family with the same strength. Let them try, I say, my voice steadier than it's been in weeks. We have something they don't. What's that? William asks. The truth, I answer, turning back to our evidence board. Every moment I spent with Tommy, every decision I made for him, every sacrifice, it's all here. They can't erase that. William nods with approval. I'll update our legal response package to include their recent actions. By evening, we've refined our strategy, accounting for Rachel's escalating tactics. William confirms our legal response is complete, character witnesses prepared, evidence organized, counterclaims ready. Mrs. Chen calls as I'm driving home. The security system is working perfectly, she tells me. I tested it again while you were gone. Thank you, I say, feeling grateful for this woman who's become more family to me than my actual relatives. Steve's parents arrive tomorrow. They're bringing documentation about the trust's original purpose. You've done everything possible to protect Tommy's legacy, Mrs. Chen says firmly. Now we wait for them to make their move. As I pull into my driveway, I realize something has changed inside me. The overwhelming grief hasn't disappeared, but it's been joined by something else, a fierce, protective anger that burns away the fog of despair. I'm not scared anymore. I'm angry, and I'm ready. The next morning, the sheriff's knock sounds like thunder. When I open the door, his face is blank and professional as he hands me a thick manila envelope. Emma Walker, you've been served. My fingers shake as I take it. It feels too heavy for just paper, too light for the destruction it contains. The sheriff tips his hat and leaves while I stand frozen in my doorway, the envelope burning in my hands. Inside, I spread the documents across my kitchen table and read the heading. Emergency petition for guardianship. My stomach lurches. They're not just coming for Tommy's money anymore. They want control of me too. The phone rings. William calling. They filed, I say, my voice empty.
I know.
Just got the notification. How are you holding up? I stare at the sworn statements attached to the petition. Jenny's signature jumps out first, 3 pages detailing every moment of weakness she witnessed during Tommy's illness. The times I forgot to eat. The night I cried uncontrollably in the hospital hallway. The morning I couldn't remember if I'd taken my own medicine. They've twisted everything, I whisper. They quoted his medical records. Things I told the doctors in private. Rachel shouldn't have had access to those files, William says, his voice getting hard. That's our countermove. The Hospital Ethics Committee is already investigating. I flip to the next page, financial statements showing my empty savings account. 18 months without steady income while caring for Tommy had drained everything. They've highlighted every overdraft fee, every late payment, presenting it as evidence of financial irresponsibility rather than the reality of a mother spending everything to save her son. The hearing is tomorrow, William says. We knew this was coming. We're ready. But I'm not sure I am. This isn't just about money anymore. They're trying to take away my independence, my dignity, my very identity as a capable adult. The document before me paints a picture of a woman falling apart, unable to make rational decisions, a danger to herself without proper supervision. Have you seen the newspaper? William asks quietly. I pull up the local news website on my phone. There they are, my parents sitting in their perfect living room, sadness written on their carefully arranged faces. The headline makes me sick. Family seeks help for grieving mother. My father's quote appears in bold. This breaks our hearts, but we have to protect her from herself. I switch to social media and find Rachel's carefully written post, a throwback photo of us as children, her arm around my shoulders. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is step in when someone you love is suffering. Please keep our family in your thoughts during this difficult time. #mental health awareness, #family first. The comment section overflows with support for them. People who don't know us, don't know Tommy, offering prayers and praise for their bravery in helping me. They've already tried and convicted me in the court of public opinion, I say. Courts don't decide cases based on Instagram likes, William replies. I've filed our counterpetition. Steve's parents arrived this morning. They're ready to testify about his intentions for the trust. The Hospital Ethics Committee has issued a formal statement about the unauthorized access to Tommy's records. I touch the silver locket around my neck, feeling Tommy's photo inside. What if it's not enough? It will be, William says with quiet confidence. Mrs. Chun has more than 25 neighbors coming to support you. Your former supervisor has submitted a statement about your professionalism. And Dr. Martinez, Tommy's primary physician, has provided a sworn statement praising your medical decision-making throughout his treatment. My phone pings with a text from Mrs. Chun. We're all set for tomorrow. The whole neighborhood is behind you. For the first time since receiving the sheriff's papers, I feel something beyond fear, a spark of determination fueled by the absurdity of their claims. They weren't there. Any of them. Not for one chemo treatment, not for one blood transfusion, not for one night when Tommy's fever spiked to 105 and I thought I might lose him right there in the pediatric cancer ward. I've also submitted the security footage, William continues, showing Rachel and your mother trying to enter your house last week when you were meeting with me. I remember coming home to find the doorbell camera notification, watching the recording of them testing door handles, looking through windows. We're hitting back with everything, William says. The restraining order request has been included in our counterpetition. I look at the documents spread across my table. There lies printed on official letterhead, made legitimate with court stamps and case numbers. Tomorrow, a judge will read these words and make decisions about my life based on them. Get some rest, William advises. Tomorrow's going to be intense. But rest doesn't come. I'm reviewing my testimony for the fourth time when the doorbell camera alert flashes on my phone at 10:23 p.m. Rachel stands on my porch alone. I consider ignoring her, but something tells me to face this. I activate the recording function on my phone before opening the door, keeping the security chain latched. What do you want, Rachel? She looks different than at the diner confrontation, softer somehow, her expression concerned rather than confrontational. If I didn't know better, I might believe she actually cares.
Can I come in? Just to talk?
She asks, her voice gentle.
No.
Her shoulders drop slightly. Emma, please. This doesn't have to be so public. So ugly. You made it public when you gave that interview. You made it ugly when you accessed Tommy's private medical records. Rachel glances toward the security camera, clearly aware she's being recorded. I'm offering you one last chance to avoid public embarrassment. Drop your opposition to the guardianship petition. Sign over control of the trust to me as administrator. We'll withdraw the petition and no one ever has to know about your episodes. The word hangs between us like poison. Episodes? The night you called Jenny at 2 a.m., hysterical about Tommy's breathing. The time the hospital almost called child services because you couldn't remember when he'd last taken his medication. Her voice remains sympathetic, but her eyes are ice cold. We'll destroy your reputation completely. Everyone will know how unstable you are. I feel a strange calm settling over me. I think you should leave now, Rachel. Her mask slips then just for a moment, but it's enough. Rage flashes across her features before she composes herself. You think you deserve that money? You were always the burden, the problem child, the disappointment. She leans closer to the door. We carried you your entire life. Now, it's time you did something for this family. I close the door without another word, my hand steady for the first time today. I immediately call William, forwarding him the recording.
Perfect, he says after listening.
Her mask finally slipped. This is exactly what we needed. It's past midnight when Mrs. Chen arrives with an overnight bag. I thought you could use some company, she says, setting a thermos of tea on my kitchen table. Thank you, I whisper, unsure how to explain how much her presence means. Tomorrow we show them what real strength looks like, she says, squeezing my hand. My phone lights up with a text from William. Everything is ready. Steve believed in you.
So do we.
I can't sleep, so I sit in Tommy's room instead, holding his favorite stuffed elephant. The glow-in-the-dark stars we stuck to his ceiling still shine faintly. I take out my locket and open it to see his smiling face. Tomorrow is for you, buddy, I whisper to his photo. For your legacy. For the first time since the sheriff knocked on my door, I feel something beyond fear or determination. I feel ready. The next morning, I enter the courtroom with my head high, flanked by William, Mrs. Chun, and Steve's parents. The polished wood and solemn atmosphere remind me of a church, a place where truth should matter more than performance. Rachel, my parents, and Jenny sit on the opposite side, their faces arranged in expressions of practiced concern. My stomach knots as I take my seat. It's been 48 hours since the sheriff served me with papers claiming I'm mentally unfit to manage my own affairs, let alone my son's legacy. William squeezes my arm gently as we settle at the defendant's table. All rise for the Honorable Judge Patricia Chun. A stern-faced woman in her 50s enters, her black hair pulled back in a tight bun. She reviews the emergency petition with sharp eyes before addressing the courtroom. These are serious allegations. I expect both sides to present evidence, not emotion. Her gaze sweeps across both tables. Mr. Thompson, you may begin for the petitioners. My family's attorney rises, his expensive suit and confident posture reflecting their certainty they'll win. Your Honor, this is a case of a family desperately trying to help a daughter and sister who is spiraling after an unimaginable loss. He walks toward the bench, presenting documents with practiced solemnity. Miss Walker has exhibited concerning behaviors since her son's passing. Erratic financial decisions, social isolation, refusal to accept help from those who love her most. I clench my fists under the table as he continues painting me as unstable and dangerous to myself and Tommy's money. When Jenny takes the stand, my chest tightens. Emma changed during Tommy's illness. She testifies, avoiding my eyes. She became obsessive about treatments, paranoid that doctors were missing something. She'd call me at 2 a.m, hysterical. The memory of those nights cuts through me, sitting beside Tommy's hospital bed, terrified as his fever spiked, reaching out to someone I thought was my friend. My isolation wasn't paranoia, it was abandonment by the people testifying against me now. My mother takes the stand next, dabbing at tears that appear on command. We're heartbroken watching her self-destruct. This isn't about money. It's about protecting our daughter when she can't protect herself. The judge's expression softens at my mother's performance. A cold wave of fear washes over me. She's buying their act. Then William stands and everything shifts. Your Honor, what we're witnessing today is not concern, but calculation. His voice fills the courtroom with quiet authority. Miss Walker hasn't self-destructed. She's been systematically targeted by family members who abandoned her during her son's illness, but suddenly appeared when they learned of his trust fund. He begins methodically dismantling their case, presenting complete hospital records that chronicle every appointment I attended, every treatment decision I researched and approved, every night I slept in a hospital chair. Now I'd like to call Miss Dorothy Martinez, Hospital Records Administrator. A middle-aged woman with kind eyes takes the stand and confirms what William suspected. Our system shows Miss Rachel Walker accessed Tommy's complete medical records 2 weeks ago, using an outdated emergency contact form. This constitutes a serious privacy violation. Rachel shifts uncomfortably in her seat as whispers ripple through the courtroom. Mrs. Chin testifies next, her steady voice carrying decades of wisdom. I watched Emma care for that boy every single day. When he couldn't keep food down, she researched what might help and stayed up learning to prepare meals that wouldn't make him sick. When he was scared about treatments, she created superhero stories to help him understand what was happening. Her eyes find mine. I never once saw her falter. Steve's father, Robert, takes the stand next. Though we've never been close, his testimony is clear and certain. My son established this trust with explicit instructions. He told me, Dad, if anything happens to Tommy, Emma gets everything. She sacrificed her career, her savings, everything to give him the best care possible. She'll honor his memory better than anyone. The judge's expression has changed, her eyes sharper, more focused on my family now. Your Honor, William says, I'd like to present one more piece of evidence. He plays the security recording from last night, Rachel's unannounced visit to my home. Her voice fills the courtroom. We'll destroy your reputation completely. Everyone will know how unstable you are. My calm response follows. I think you should leave now, Rachel. Rachel's true colors emerge in her next words. You think you deserve that money? You were always the burden. My sister's face flushes deep red. My mother's hand flies to her mouth. My father stares straight ahead, his jaw tight. The judge calls a 15-minute recess. When she returns, Rachel attempts to speak, but Judge Chin silences her with a sharp gesture. Mr. Martinez, do you have additional evidence? William nods. One final exhibit, Your Honor. He plays an audio recording from our diner meeting. The voices are crystal clear. My mother, once the guardianship is approved, we can settle Rachel's mortgage situation. Rachel and the beach house repairs. The contractor needs $50,000 by next month. My father, once we have guardianship, we can use the money however we want. Emma won't have any say. The courtroom falls silent. My family's attorney shifts papers aimlessly, clearly unprepared for this revelation. Judge Chin calls another brief recess. When she returns, her expression has hardened into granite. I've reviewed all evidence and testimony in this matter. This court finds no basis whatsoever for the emergency guardianship petition. In fact, what I see is deeply disturbing, a coordinated attempt to exploit a grieving mother for financial gain. Rachel starts to protest, but the judge cuts her off. Ms. Rachel Walker, I strongly suggest you remain silent. This court dismisses the petition with prejudice, meaning the petitioners cannot refile on these grounds. Furthermore, I am ordering an investigation into possible perjury by Jenny Bennett and Charles and Helen Walker, whose testimonies directly contradict documented evidence. The judge continues, each word hitting like a hammer blow. I am granting an immediate restraining order prohibiting all petitioners from contacting Emma Walker. The trust will be unfrozen immediately and secured against further challenges. Rachel's composure finally cracks. Her face contorts as she tries to maintain dignity while her plans crumble. My mother begins crying, real tears this time. My father stares ahead, his expression frozen in disbelief. Ms. Walker, the judge says, looking directly at me, this court finds you have acted with remarkable strength and clarity during an unimaginable loss. Your son would be proud of how you've protected his legacy. My parents and Rachel rise, attempting to approach me, but a bailiff steps between us, enforcing the new restraining order. William turns to me, his professional demeanor softening. The system worked today, Emma. Justice was done. Mrs. Chen's eyes shine with tears. Tommy would be so proud of you, dear. Steve's parents embrace me, his mother whispering, you've honored our grandson and our son today. As I leave the courtroom, I touch Tommy's photo in my locket. The small silver frame holds his last school picture, grinning despite having lost his hair to chemo, his eyes bright with a determination that carried him through 18 months of fighting. Reporters wait outside, microphones extended. A month ago, I would have ducked my head and hurried past. Today, I stop. Mrs. Walker, how do you feel about the court's decision? I straighten my shoulders, feeling stronger than I have since the day we received Tommy's diagnosis. Today, justice was done for my son. As cameras flash, I walk toward the future Tommy would have wanted for me. One where his memory isn't just preserved, but honored through strength he helped me discover. The trust fund isn't just money, it's his legacy, and I've proven worthy of protecting it. The financial advisor slides a folder across his wooden desk. These investment options would create sustainable funding for the scholarship program while preserving the principal, he explains. I study the numbers, no longer intimidated by financial jargon. 1 week since the hearing, and already the world feels different. The Pediatric Blood Disorder Fellowship needs to be fully funded, I say, tapping the proposal. That's non-negotiable. The advisor nods, making notes. And the restraining order? Holding firm. They can't come within 1,000 feet. My voice doesn't waver anymore when I mention my family. Strange how quickly family has become an administrative term rather than an emotional one. The local paper published a front-page story yesterday, Mother Vindicated in Trust Battle. I've received dozens of supportive calls and messages. Even Rachel's fiancé called to apologize before announcing their engagement was off. My parents face possible perjury charges, and Jenny was fired after her recorded testimony circulated through her workplace. When I leave the advisor's office, Mrs. Chun waits in her old Honda, window rolled down despite the winter chill. "All set?" she asks. "All set." I slide into the passenger seat, remembering all those rides to and from the hospital with Tommy. How Mrs. Chun would bring containers of homemade soup when cafeteria food became unbearable. How she'd sit with him while I showered or napped. Never thought I could do this, I admit, as we drive. Stand up to them. Create something lasting. Mrs. Chun pats my hand. "I knew. From the moment you placed that toy robot in his grave and made that promise." That night, I sleep peacefully for the first time since Tommy's diagnosis. No nightmares of hospital corridors or beeping machines. Instead, I dream of Tommy laughing, whole and strong, running through sunlit meadows. William calls the next morning. The foundation paperwork is filed. The trust is locked down tight. Not even the Supreme Court could touch it now. My neighbors organize a meal train. Every evening, someone appears at my door with casseroles, soups, fresh bread. Small kindnesses that would have overwhelmed me with gratitude before now feel like confirmation of something I'm slowly beginning to understand. Family isn't always blood. I pull out a photo of Tommy. Not a hospital photo, but one from before, at the park, his smile wide beneath a baseball cap. For the first time, I can look at it without dissolving into tears. "I know what to do with your legacy now, buddy," I whisper. 6 months later, I stand in the pediatric blood disorder unit where Tommy spent so many hours. The walls are brighter now, painted with ocean scenes that Tommy would have loved. A plaque beside the nurse's station reads, "Tommy Walker Memorial Wing." A young nurse approaches, extending her hand. "I'm Lisa Johnson, the first Tommy Walker scholar. I can't thank you enough for this opportunity to specialize in pediatric blood disorders." Tommy would have been thrilled, I say, and realize I'm smiling as I speak about him. Not the tight, painful smile of someone holding back tears, but a genuine expression of joy at his memory. He wanted to be a doctor himself someday. "The foundation is making such a difference," Lisa says. "For families have received emergency housing assistance already. The Tommy's Legacy Foundation now supports families facing the same battles we fought, covering expenses insurance won't, providing emergency housing near hospitals, funding specialized training for pediatric nurses. Each board meeting brings new possibilities for expanding our reach." Mrs. Chin serves as volunteer coordinator, organizing a network of people who provide meals, transportation, and childcare for families with hospitalized children. William handles all legal matters for free, ensuring the foundation's stability. "You've created something beautiful from something tragic," Steve's mother tells me during her monthly visit. She and her husband have become grandparent advocates, helping other grandparents navigate the medical system when their grandchildren fall ill. I find myself speaking at support groups, mentoring parents new to the terrifying world of childhood chronic illness. "The first step is believing you can do this," I tell them. "The second is knowing you don't have to do it alone." My voice no longer shakes when I speak in public. My hands no longer tremble when I sign documents. The woman who stood frozen at her son's grave has become someone else entirely, someone stronger, someone Tommy would be proud of. 1 year to the day after Tommy's funeral, I return to the cemetery. The path feels different under my feet, no longer a march toward unbearable grief, but a purposeful visit to a place of connection. I place fresh flowers by his headstone, tracing the letters of his name with my finger. The morning sun warms the granite. "Excuse me," a voice calls. A woman approaches with a little girl around 6, holding her hand. "Are you Emma Walker?" I nod, standing to greet them. "I'm Karen Thompson. This is my daughter, Lily." The woman's eyes shine with unshed tears. "Lily was diagnosed with the same condition as your son last year. The specialist funded by your scholarship program found a treatment protocol that worked when nothing else would. Your son's legacy saved my daughter's life." Lily steps forward, shy but determined. "Thank you for helping me get better." I kneel to her level, seeing in her face the future Tommy never had. "You're very welcome, Lily." Standing again, I share Tommy's story, not with pain but with pride. "Fighting for his legacy transformed me," I explain. "I found strength I never knew I had." Karen listens intently. The foundation is expanding?
Yes.
We're funding research into rare blood disorders starting next quarter. Mrs. Chen's joining the board officially, and William's structuring the research grants. Steve's parents are heading up the grandparent advocacy program. When they leave, I reach into my pocket and pull out Tommy's favorite toy robot, the same one I'd placed in his grave a year ago. The cemetery worker had retrieved it for me after the service, understanding my immediate regret at parting with it. I place it gently against his headstone. I kept my promise, Tommy. Your legacy is safe and growing stronger every day. Standing in the same spot where I once felt utterly abandoned, I'm surrounded by the presence of those who've become my true family, not bound by blood, but by something stronger. Choice, loyalty, and love. The family that matters isn't always the one you're born into, I say softly to Tommy. It's the one that stands beside you when you need them most. As I walk back to my car, the morning sun warm on my face, I realize something profound. Sometimes the deepest betrayal leads to the most powerful transformation. I'm not just surviving now. I'm living the life that honors everything Tommy taught me about courage.